so much for joining me on Candid Conversations. Welcome. You're one of the first guest bloggers we've actually ever had on the platform, which is incredibly cool. But I mean, it's been a long time in the making because you and I have such a long history of blogging and talking about it and going from talking about our blogs to actually starting our blogs. So I think this is really such a 360-degree moment. So firstly, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and candid conversations with us. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you so much, Tad. This is really special because, as you said, we do have a history being two
Yeah.
starry-eyed for 3 years ago. It's crazy.
Is crazy. But I mean, the blog you wrote was so incredible. I mean, when I read it, I almost had a moment of like experiencing an epiphany because although I know about alignment and I know about being centered and these are things we take for granted, but when you finally hear those words written down intentionally and you walk away with a strong message about it, it reminds you that sometimes in life it's really important to stay aligned. Let's start off at the beginning of the blog. Actually, I mean, the analogy you made when you started the blog about your mother and her explaining to you how the alignment of a car is important for it to function, for me was such a wow moment because I actually haven't had I heard rather alignments being illustrated in that way. So I actually want to ask you, when you were in that moment with your mother in the car and you heard her explaining that, how did you feel, and how did you sort of process that moment and really internalize it to try and form an understanding about alignment?
I asked her this question years ago, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, and I didn't think much about it. I just thought, interesting.
Yeah.
But when I reflected how the alignment conversation kind of started in my head was I was looking at my own goals from
Mm.
last year and just looking at my goals and being really disappointed because I felt like I didn't achieve any of them, because 2020, COVID-19, and all of that. And I looked at my goals and I was like, oh man, I'm so disappointed that I achieved none of my goals. But then I started to reflect on, are these goals even, do they align with who I am? And then all of a sudden, I thought about how my mom explained what alignment is when it relates to a car. And then all of a sudden, that whole alignment, as in when it pertains to cars and wheels, it just kind of reminded me, oh my goodness, I am not in alignment. And the car analogy just reminded me of myself. The car needs to move from point A to B. I felt like I was not going to move from point A to B with these goals that were just not in alignment with my end goal and what I actually want to achieve in life.
And I actually want to ask you, how were you able to create a certain purpose or vision for your life that actually helped you align all of your actions and daily tasks to achieving that purpose? Because sometimes we may know that, okay, I'm not in alignment, but people sometimes are overwhelmed about where to start and how to go about being in alignment. But I ultimately know that when you have a bigger vision for your life, it almost sets everything in stone. So for you, what was that process like of recalibrating to really align all of your daily tasks and steps?
Like, I don't think it was a one moment sort of, oh, I'm aligned, these are my goals, this is my life's purpose, this is the vision. I think it was definitely a process, and it was a step by step sort of thing. I think for myself, it started in high school when a random friend gave me this book called What on Earth Are You Here For? And I started to
Mm.
think about, why am I alive? I've never really thought about that. Like, yes, I'm going to school. Yes, I have goals in terms of what I want to study. But I never thought about it at a higher level. Like, why did God actually put me on this earth? And I started to look at my gift and talents, and I started to realize, oh, I think I'm kind of good at writing. I'm kind of good at talking. I'm kind of good at dealing with people. I'm not good at mathematics of activities, but I'm good with working with my mind and with working with people. And then I started to think about, what is the burden that I have in the world. I listened to this sermon by Andy Stanley, and it was titled "What Breaks Your Heart." And he said, if you want to know why you're on this world, besides looking at your gifts and talents, ask yourself, what breaks your heart? What is that
I
one
love
thing that you look
that.
at and yeah, and you think, oh my gosh, like, why is this a thing? Why is human trafficking a thing, for instance? Or why do we have so many uneven roads? Or why is
Mm.
nobody uh, putting the weather? Whatever it is. He said, ask yourself, what are my burdens? And then begin to align your burdens with your talents.
Oh
There
my
comes
god.
purpose. But also,
Yeah.
it's not this big grand thing. It's more about what are you doing every single day about the things that are your burdens. So if you're worried about people before you can start a foundation or a human rights initiative, what are you doing for the people in your house? How are you engaging with them? If you're worried about poverty, what are you doing about your neighbors that you've noticed perhaps that I don't think that they were sleeping with a full stomach. What are you doing about that? It's the little things. So for myself, it was a process looking at my gifts and also looking at my burdens, and then step by step, kind of waking up every day and thinking about solutions and becoming solution minded about
Mm.
the things that burden my heart to help me do something about it. That is purpose. That's the vision.
Oh my gosh, Gwen, I literally got goosebumps as you were talking because everything you said is just so, so powerful. And it actually reminded me of quite a few Sarah Jakes Roberts sermons I've watched. And in those sermons, she talks about how sometimes you will be the person to walk into the room and be bothered by something that everyone else thinks is okay because God specifically gave you that gift and that itch inside to solve that problem. And that was so powerful for me because it made me realize that the things that I'm always voicing my opinions about or working towards solving are the very things that I should be aligning with my life purpose. And as you talk about burdens, it leads me to something else that you included in the blog. And you spoke about how sometimes we try to multitask and do everything. And as you mentioned burdens right now, it made me think about how we sometimes pick up burdens that don't belong to us because we want to be, superwoman or the superhero. So, in your opinion, what are the dangers of trying to do everything and be a jack of all trades? And how do you think that really distracts us from being aligned?
Love that question
Mm.
because I went and the dangers of you trying to be jack of all trades and trying to do every single thing is burnout. You are
Mm.
going to experience burnout. And then most likely it's going to lead to some form of anxiety and then a crisis within yourself about what am I doing? And also, you are not going to become fulfilled. You're not going to see progress in what you're doing because you've got your hands in too many pots. And I think God gave us two hands for a
For
reason.
a
You know what I mean?
reason, yeah.
We can only do so much at a certain point. And I can relate to this because I feel like I'm a very multi-passionate person. I'm someone that is burdened about so many things. But I think, as I said in the article, just being quiet and asking God who created me, why am I here? Yes, I'm burdened about many things, but what is my portion? I think also the fact that have plan will help answer that question. Do you know what I mean? So somebody like me at this point, I can only do so much because I'm a student. I don't even have my own income, you know.
Mm.
So I'm limited in terms of what I can do. But that limitation is not necessarily a problem because it helps me align and it helps me be more strategic about what I'm able to do at this point. I
Yeah.
think that the faithful in the little things, God will increase your capacity and you're going to be able to do more naturally, you know.
Mm.
So I think we do need to be quiet about what am I doing right now and let me focus on that. I think something else that can help is let me actually track my progress. Because if I've got so many hands in different pots, it's difficult to track if I'm actually seeing any development with whatever I'm doing. But I think kind of having sort of a growth mindset about whatever it is that you're doing, and being able to track your progress is going to help you to focus and then say,
Mm.
okay, once I'm done with this, I'll go to that. Or until I see this through, I'm not going to allow
Not.
myself to take any other opportunity. So I hope
Mm.
that answers that question. But I
Mm.
You suffer from burnout if you try to do everything.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know from experience as well. So it's so so important to get up and just do your best with the day you have. You know, not think obviously think about tomorrow and have the vision for your future, but you know, knowing that when you pray for your daily bread, you're literally praying for the bread for today, not tomorrow, not next year. That's so so important. You know, and I think as we talk about alignment, a big thing that I just thought of now is how sometimes when we rush to split ourselves up in a thousand different directions, we actually miss the lessons and the character building that happens in the moment that we're in right now. And we rush, you know, for tomorrow, and we don't adequately prepare ourselves for the tomorrow, you know, that we're longing for. So in your own journey, how has alignment helped you get the skills or the character or the competency or even just the necessary characteristics that you've needed to have to step into, you know, the person you're becoming today, the writer, the passionate Gwen that you are?
Um, I think because I was so busy in the past doing so many different things and taking every single opportunity that came my way because I thought it was a good opportunity, I missed out on, as you were saying, that character development. And when I started going out things, I then decided to become more intentional about what I'm doing. I then decided to think before I say yes and realize that when I say yes to one thing, I'm saying no to something else. And so that caused me to become mindful. And then the next step that happened is as I became more intentional about what I'm saying yes to, I became more aligned. But what started to happen with that alignment is that I started to track growth. I started to see development and progress with the things that I'm actually doing. And I started to see that, oh my goodness, because I'm aligned, I am more productive with the things that I'm doing, but also I have more time to grow at a character level, to grow at a personal level, because I don't have too much on my plate. And I am able to take time out for myself to do, but then to also take a step back and look at what I'm doing and track whether or not I'm growing or I'm seeing progress. And in that
Yeah.
process, there's been so much growth in my own life. And I find that do, the more I do things outside of myself, the more I do things that are bigger than myself, guess who grows most? Me. Even if I'm
Mm.
trying to plant into somebody else or sow into somebody else or see a particular project come to the person who benefits the most from that is myself. So I love that you asked that question because with alignment, there comes a sense of character development and personal growth. And if you're not intentional about what you are doing, you run the risk of just being a human doing and not a human being. And you miss out
Mm.
on the fundamental growing pains that you're going to experience. So I love that you asked that question. I've seen so much growth in my life ever since I became more intentional, and ever since I became more aligned with the things that I'm doing. My character, my skills, my own personal growth has benefited most from that.
Spoke about how when you started saying no to things and you started being intentional about the things that you are doing, it helped you become more aligned. My next question is, what do you think makes it so hard for us to say no to opportunities? I know that sometimes we think that constantly saying yes to things is going to help us progress, and we alternatively think that saying no offends people or it puts us at a disadvantage. But in your own experience, what actually prevented you from saying no to opportunities, and what did the breaking point, or rather like the metamorphosis of you owning your no and, you know, being more intentional look like?
So for me, as I was saying last time, I will never speak about purpose more than I speak about identity. I think that's where it starts. You can never do before you are, before you know who you are. You know what I mean? Before you become solidified and really, really sure about who you are. And for me, as a believer, my identity is 100% in God. And so it's been very important for me to know who I am first before I start doing. And once I felt that I really know what my identity is, I
Mm.
was able to do and to do with the purpose, with the reason, with a strong sense of mission. And throughout that process, it didn't matter to me what people say or what people think, because I knew who I was. You know what I mean? I knew where my purpose came from. And one thing I knew was that my purpose didn't come from people. So people's approval or people's opinions, or I suppose the fear of man was never an issue for me. And so I was able to say no to the things that were just not aligned with who I was, because I was not relying on other people and their opinions, but I was actually relying on God and myself. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
so it was easier for me to be intentional about what I say yes to. And my yes was strong because of that. Um, and I remember hearing a quote that said, "Your why needs to be strong enough to keep you there." So I think if your why is aligned with your identity, with who you are, with who created you, and with your life's purpose, it's going to be so much more meaningful. And it's going to be easier to say no to whatever you know is not aligned with that. In fact, it makes it easier to sift out the things that aren't in alignment when you are in touch with your identity and you know why you're doing what you're doing and who you are. Those two questions are very much aligned. So I hope that answers that question.
No, it definitely does. And I've personally seen so many young people, and at some stage myself, even struggle to find my identity. I think we live in such a culture that's driven by things we see on social media and influences, and so many different forces at play that every day tell us who to be, what to wear, how to look, how much money to earn. And it can be very, very overwhelming at times. And so for you, what like practical practices and rituals that you've adopted that have helped you align yourself, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, so that when you go through the day, you know that even though you see the world and the things in the world, you are able to maintain your alignment.
So I love that you asked that question, because we are creatures of habit, and it's not
Mm,
actually so much about goals, it's about your daily routine and your habits. That is
exactly.
what's going to make you the day. So in the morning, I love to wake up and have a morning devotion, read my Bible, and pray. That is really
Mm.
what centers me, what reminds me who I am, and what reminds me of the why behind everything that I do. I love to exercise as often as I can, because I've actually read that exercise helps with your willpower. And so, willpower is what enables you to say yes and no. And so, if we want to be clear about our yes and no, I think exercise is going to help with that, since it helps with the part of our brain that has to do with willpower. I also love to be
Mm.
intentional about who I follow online. So if I feel like I'm following people who are living artificial lives, I like to unfollow them. I am not judging them, but they are simply not making me a more confident, sort of better person. I like to follow people who are inspiring me. I like to watch people who can have really bad falls, but stand up again. I like to follow
Yeah.
those people who are honest about their journeys, who are not trying to be perfect, but who are doing their best to live a meaningful life. And I'm trying to be that person as well. So those are some
Mm.
practices that I like to incorporate into my day that help center me. I also love to journal. So journal keeps me journaling. It keeps me accountable with who I am and with what I'm doing. So I get to really figure out what's going on in my head. I get to really figure out why I'm doing certain things through journaling. I also love to keep really good friends and to have good conversations and all of that. I mean, it's a mixture of so many different things, but all of that helps to align me and to keep me sort of in my lane. I hope that makes sense.
I think anyone who watches is gonna have practical tools that they can walk away with to help them on their own journey of alignment. And I think lastly, for anyone who is watching this and they don't even know where to start trying to get their life aligned with their purpose, or don't even know what their purpose is, what words of advice would you give them on their journey to alignment?
Pressurize yourself. As I said in the beginning, purpose and alignment is a process. of so many different things. Before you can find out what you're here to do, you need to find out who you are. And who knows how long that's going to take. So I would say live every single day intentionally. Make sure that you are aligning yourself with people who are living in purpose, people who are intentional about their lives, and that you are tuning into the right things. What type of podcasts are you listening to if you do listen to podcasts? What are you watching on TV if you watch TV? What are you reading if you read? Surround yourself with really positive energy. Live every single day intentionally. Be yourself, tune into who you really are. And then get
Mm.
quiet because that's what it's truly about. A lot of us are just going about our lives. We're busy, we're attending everything, we're going everywhere, but we're not actually taking time to be quiet and to reflect and to reevaluate. And I found that that is so important if you're someone who wants to live a purpose driven life. And a purpose driven life
Yeah.
has so much peace because you know exactly what you're doing and where you're going. So I would say all of that. Take your time, be quiet. Along the way, you will start to realize and you will start to notice what truly matters to you. You will start to realize what you truly have a burden for. And then you will start to become strategic about, okay, how do I become solution minded about the things that break my heart? And before you know it, you found your purpose. And as you do your purpose, it's just going to keep expanding. Because I heard someone say something really powerful, and they said, have you noticed that people who are living purpose driven lives, they just keep getting better? Do you know what I mean? Like, look at
Mm.
Oprah, for instance. Started out,
Right.
I heard that she started out in radio or something, a small community radio. Then she had the Oprah Winfrey Show. Then she had the Oprah Winfrey Network, and she's doing everything that she's doing today with networks, and she's producing so many different shows, and she's writing books, and she's doing so much. And it all started from her being in a small community radio, because that's just what it looks like to be purpose driven. It will expand. If you're faithful in the little, God will entrust you with more. So just be faithful, be a good steward of the little that you have right now, even if it's just your academics. That's what I would say. Take it slow.
Love it. Absolutely, absolutely love it. What a powerful way to end off our interview today. Gwen, thank you so, so much for joining me on the show today. I'm really honored to have you
Thank
on Candid
you.
Conversations. It's been amazing, talking to you. And thank you so much for contributing a blog. And I hope this won't be the last blog that our readers see on our website from you.
I hope so too. Tad, thank you so much. This was really, really fun. I'm not used to doing interviews. This was my first time. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you for believing in me and my work, and for just allowing me to share and to be a part of your amazing platform.
No, thank you. And I cannot wait to see you grow as a writer and as a purpose driven woman. I know that you're going to do so many incredible things and you're going to do it while all being aligned. And I hope people walk away with that message today. Before we let you go, actually, please let people know where they can find your blog and your social media handles.
Okay, so I'm quite active on Instagram. I'm just Gwen Mathebula. That's my personal page. And then I also have a faith blog and an Instagram page. It's called Her Creed. So that's her_creed. So that's where people can find me. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. We definitely will leave all those links as well below the video for anyone who wants to read your blog. I highly encourage that people read it because you are such an incredible writer and the content you write is food for the soul. Yeah. All
Thank you
right,
so
Gwen,
much.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, and I hope to see you again.